Hi everyone, it's great to see you again. And to our newest friends, welcome. Thank you for joining us and our dear friends at CFA Society Los Angeles today. My name is Sarah Yao Schutzman, CFA. I'm a managing partner of Providence Heights Capital Management based in Chicago and chair of the Collaborative Women in Investment Management Initiative. I serve on the board of CFA Society Indianapolis as programming director and membership chair. At our last quarterly event in February, 44 societies gathered to demystify imposter syndrome with Michelle Galloway. Today, our friends from nearly 80 organizations across the US, Canada, Caribbean, EMEA, and Latin America have joined us, and I hope you'll enjoy meeting them all soon. Last summer, CFA Society leaders around the US created collaborative WIM with our shared mission in mind, to further inclusion and diversity and the advancement and development of female leaders of all backgrounds. Recent events have made this conversation more urgent than ever. Like you, we believe that inclusion will allow our industry to achieve better outcomes. But more importantly, we believe it will better serve our diverse society. Our grassroots campaign has captured hearts and minds across the global finance network. And leaders around the world have dedicated their incredible talents, time, and endless passion to our shared vision. Since September, our collaboration has supported and provided numerous events featuring female and diverse leaders, and we are happy to play a role in amplifying the critically important inclusion conversation wherever in the world it takes place. We created this community to facilitate a geography-agnostic exchange of ideas, resources, and best practices, and to aid each of our members in their personal career journey through professional development and networking opportunities. In time, we hope that our efforts will both inspire and expand the female and diverse pipeline into the investment industry, as well as support their success. In short, we commit to use our unified voice to champion inclusion and diversity. I'd like to thank our dear friend Mary Poffenroth for sharing her afternoon with us. Her body of work is fascinating, and we hope her insights will guide us as we each wrestle with our own fears. And now I'm thrilled to introduce to you our friends and partners and Collaborative WIM's 2021 Platinum sponsors, Schroders and Gelser Investment Management. We are so proud to work alongside these firms and their leaders to play our part in furthering the global diversity dialogue. And to all of our partners and to each of you, thank you for standing alongside us as champions of inclusion and diversity. We can't wait to meet each of you soon.
Hi, I'm delighted to welcome you all today on behalf of Schroders. I'm Anna Sayer, Director of Wealth Management Solutions, the Western region. And I'm very much looking forward to today's session on the myth of fearlessness with Mary Poffenroth, touching on a subject that all of us in financial services will have grappled with during our careers. Now, Schroders is a global asset management firm managing over $785 billion of assets, with offices in 37 locations around the globe. This gives us a unique vantage point, a real unique opportunity to champion diversity and inclusion in the workplace, leading by example as employers in all these countries. Now, I thought, as being sponsors of this event, that you all might be interested in hearing how we approach gender equity directly. Well, Schroders places gender equity firmly at the center of its business plan and its culture, with a strong vision and ambitious targets, focusing on fixing the gender pay gap and building our pipeline of internal female promotions into management. In 2015, we set forth to have 33% of females in senior management, and we've achieved that goal and set a new target to reach 35% by 2023. Being an active manager, we also have the opportunity to channel capital towards more sustainable businesses, not just because it makes financial sense, but because it makes social sense. And this unique perspective is really founded in our time-tested and data-driven approach, which has been informed by over 20 years of sustainable investing experience. It's truly great and remarkable to be part of a firm that makes sure that we are a diverse organization through every lens. And so moving on to the reason why we're all here today, I'm pleased we're taking time out of our busy schedules to invest in ourselves and gather together to learn how to navigate our fear responses, guided by Mary, helping us all to achieve more, ask for more, progress more, and really bring that diversity in the investment management industry squarely into focus. So with that, I'll hand over. Thanks so much.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us today and for your support of your local CFA societies and the collaborative Women in Investment Management Initiative. My name is Brett McCamey, and CFA, I'm the president of Gelsler Investment Management and a member of the Indianapolis CFA Society. Gelsler is an RIA with $2.5 billion in assets under advisement, serving successful families and individuals and institutions throughout the country from our offices in Indianapolis, Indiana, at the crossroads of America's heartland. When one of our senior portfolio managers, Elena Ocampo, introduced us to Sarah to learn more about the WIM initiative, Sarah's unbridled enthusiasm, power of persuasion, and the fact that roughly half of our team is female, it was a no-brainer for us to get involved and help out with this important initiative as we strive to support the professional and career development of all of our female colleagues and encourage diversity in what has for far too long been a largely male-dominated industry. We're super excited to hear what Mary has to share with us today. And with that, let's get started.
Thank you so much to our sponsors. Good afternoon, fearless legends of finance. My name is Regina Geisner. I'm a vice president of municipal finance investment banking at RBC Capital Markets. I'm a member of WIM's steering committee, and I'm here tonight on behalf of CFA Society New Mexico. Here in a minute, we'll be transitioning into the breakout rooms where you'll get to meet your colleagues from all over the world. But before that, we've got some icebreakers for you. And given the topic of today's presentation, no, we won't be asking you to share your deepest, darkest fears with us, because we already know it's your portfolio underperforming the benchmark. So first, we'd like for you to share the animal you're most afraid of. Is it the cute kittens on Instagram or spiders? And second, a character from a horror movie that scares you. I'm always afraid that that recent stock purchase will turn out to be my portfolio's Mike Myers from Halloween. And as you can tell, the steering committee worst fears already came true today with all the tech challenges. With that, please go ahead and enjoy meeting some members of the WIM community.
Welcome back, everyone. We hope you enjoyed the opportunity to connect briefly with a few of the other fellow participants on the call today. My name is Ariel Bitoni, CFA CFP. I am the Chief Wealth Strategist for Refresh Investments, an RIA in Santa Monica, California, serving professional women and families. I also serve as the chair of the CFA Los Angeles Women's Community Group. Before we transition to our guest speaker today, I would just like to remind everyone to keep your microphones on mute throughout the presentation to prevent any background noise. And if you haven't already, go ahead and open up the chat feature, as we'll be using it for our interactive workshop today. And with that, I'm very proud to introduce our speaker today. Whether through making original content for TEDx and Wiley & Sons, writing for Science and Forbes, or speaking to live audiences at TEDx and South by Southwest, Mary's goals are the same: make science accessible for all. Mary, a Salzburg Global Fellow and first-generation college student, holds 3 master's degrees, one in biology, the other in psychology, and the third in science communication from Imperial College London. She's the author of Write, Present, Create, Science Communication for Undergraduates, and has taught nearly 20,000 students, both in person and online, since 2007. She began her research career in astrophysiology at NASA Ames Research Center, Moffett Field, in 1999, and now focuses her research on the intersection of fear science, communication, and personal social change as human experience scientist and STEM faculty for San Jose State University. Mary, the floor is now yours.
you so much. Y'all are so good to me. I haven't even taken the stage and I have so much praise. You're gonna make me all excited to be here because I am. I want to kick us off today with a little practice of bravery. So I'm gonna go first, and I want you to think about a fear that is holding you back or keeping you stuck. For me, one of my biggest fears, I mean, I have a lot, but one of them is time. Not enough time in the day and not enough time in a lifetime to do the things that I really want to do, that I feel passionate about or that I want to achieve. And this fear of not having enough time really impacts me sometimes because I overextend myself. I say yes when I should say no, and I try to do everything for everyone. And trying to recognize this in myself will also help me see it when it comes up. So I want you to be brave with me today. I'm going to send you a link in the chat thread, and this is going to go to a completely anonymous word cloud in 1 to 3 words. I would love for you, and it's completely anonymous, to share either one or a few of your biggest fears with me. I'm putting the hyperlink in right now, and then I'm going to go ahead and share screen so we can see what that word cloud looks like. It's a great question. Is it work related or overall? It can be either, right? Because it's anonymous, no one will know. I'm going to go ahead and share screen ever so briefly. Okay, so here was my time. And then as the words are coming in, you'll see that if they're more dominant, that means that multiple people are submitting those words as well. So you see that you can do one or more, it's totally up to you. Fear of failure right there in the center, right? I'm sure everyone on this call has felt the fear of failure because you care. If you didn't have this fear of failure, that means you probably didn't care. And so this is about that reframing that we're going to talk about today, to change the narrative that we tell ourselves about the role of fear, and is it important to really acknowledge that it's a completely natural human experience. So those of you that are on either a desktop, you should be able to do it on your phone as well. I'm going to come back to this. You can see it continue to go as yourself if you just update it on your end. So we have other big ones before I move away from this. We have judgment. Oh my gosh, right. Judgment's a huge one. Oh my gosh, job loss. Because money allows us to have safety. And so losing a job is also about losing that safety for ourselves, for our family, for the people that we care about. These are really good ones. You can read a whole book on these. Not being good enough. These are the two big ones. When we come to the RIA method strategy in a few minutes, two of the biggest buckets we can put most of our fears are either losing control or not being enough. So these are really good. I could just watch this all day, but I know we have other things to do. Rejection, so good. Imposter syndrome, like the one that you were talking about last time. Disappointing others. Oh, these are so good. So if you want to keep watching these, and then again, like the big words are going to be the ones that are coming in from multiple people. And perfection. Ooh, perfection, as not even a recovering perfectionist, perfection is a trauma response. And when we start to think it in that way, perfectionism, we can do like an entire thing on perfectionism, but it's really that fear that what we have to provide is not enough. Coming back to that, not enough. So as you're watching those words come in, I hope that you're able to see some commonality, that the things that you are fearful of are not anything to be ashamed of. Fear is a 100% natural human experience. Yet in society, we've constantly had this messaging that says, if you even talk about fear, you're weak. If you feel fear, you did something wrong. You should be ashamed. You should hide it. And you should definitely never bring it into the workplace. However, times they are changing. And if we want to have a truly inclusive, healthy ecosystem at work, and we want to entice the Gen Z talent that's coming up into our companies and retain them, we have to have a different way of looking at our relationship with fear. So today we're going to do a couple of things around that. And I'm going to give you some tools that you can hopefully apply immediately. And I want you to think about the ways that everyday fear shows up in your life. Now, a lot of those were seen on our word cloud. And think about how many people are in this call that are feeling those same things that you are, and how many people in your company are also probably going through exactly the same thing. So our ability to feel fear is a really good thing. We can thank every ancestor that we have for being afraid and staying alive for the reason why we as an individual and as a society are here today. Yet we're never given any tools in school. I mean, I wasn't, I don't know if you were, but I definitely was never given any tools in school to help me navigate normal everyday fear. The imposter syndrome, like you were talking about last time at the last meeting, all the things that came up today on the word cloud. So today I want to just show you a couple of tools that hopefully can help you move through these totally natural things. So next Saturday, I'm going to be moving, which is always super fun. Everyone loves moving. And there's always a lot of moving parts that need to go in that. So when we think about our fear response, our fearful brain is constantly scanning for differences and change. And it's going to think that anything different is always scary and dangerous first. Dream delivering things, then that can completely change how we see the world. So one of the first kind of tools that I want to share with you today is going to be box breathing. Now, as a scientist, we have this like knee-jerk reaction that's been trained into us that anytime we hear anything, even like mildly on the foo-foo scale, like, wait, what? Can I see the evidence for that? And box breathing is my favorite because when I'm collecting tools, when I'm crafting tools based in evidence and literature, I really love things that are simple, because if they're not simple, I'm not going to do them, and I'm not going to remember them when I'm in a state of fear arousal. And many times we call stress what's actually a fear arousal. And this can absolutely be a game changer that you can do, and no one can tell that you're doing it. So box breathing is something that the Navy SEALs teach to their new recruits, something that helps to really allow your body to relax and for you to gain control over that hyper aroused, fearful brain. So it's called box breathing because like a box has 4 sides. So I invite you to do this with me. We're going to do it 3 times. And I want you to take a moment now to kind of just recognize where your anxiety, stress, overwhelm state is, and see if it's any different after you do it with me for 3 times. So this box breathing is going to, again, like kind of picture a box. We're going to breathe in for a count of 4. We're going to hold our breath for a count of 4. We're going to breathe out for a count of 4, and then we're going to hold that. And then we're going to do that a total of 3 times. I'm going to try and count with my fingers as I'm breathing, but I generally always mess it up at some point. So just, be ready. All right, it's ready. Okay, I'm going to breathe in for the count of 4. Then I'm going to hold my breath for a count of 4, even though I'm talking. I'm going to breathe out for a count of 4. I'm going to hold that for a count of 4. Okay, now do that 2 more times. I'm not going to count with you, but I'm going to do it with you. So hopefully everyone has had a chance to finish their box breathing, and see if there's any difference in how you feel. I'm going to guess there's probably at least a little bit of difference, because how this works is it's going to stimulate the vagus nerve, and it really helps to slow the sympathetic stress response down and helps to really boost up the relaxing functions of the parasympathetic nervous system. Now, even just having this one tool in your back pocket is going to be so essential, because when we are in even a mild fear arousal state, even when we're any kind of stressed, if you want to use that kind of big bucket word, our brains just don't function properly. Our prefrontal cortex, where all the magic happens as a human, where we can strategize and plan and solve really complex problems, goes offline. So when we start to deal with our everyday, totally normal fear responses in a more masterful way, then we can perform better. We can lead our teams better, and we can experience just life better. So I'm going to show you another tool. Now, usually I would have this little handout for you if we were in person, but obviously that's not possible. So I'm going to send you a hyperlink to download a digital copy. I'm going to pop that into the thread, or if you're just listening, you can go to todaywithmary.com/WIM. Excellent part. So what's the purpose of the holding part, like holding the breath? You're just helping to retrain kind of like the circuitry in your brain. There's more aspects to that, and there's different ways to also do this controlled breathing. I'm not going to go into it today, but there's tons of stuff online, and if you want to email me, I can send you some more stuff on that as well. So the hyperlink is in the chat box if you want to follow along on the PDF. That would be the RIA PDF that we're going to go through now. All right. So everyone is having a chance to grab that. And all right. So fear is going to be an arousal state, and an overstimulated brain is going to need systems. And when we give our brain a framework to attach to, we're going to feel more in control and feel like we have a safe space to come back to. Before that, we get to the RIA method, which is going to be that framework. I want you to take an opportunity to think about one dream. Now, this can be professional or personal, but one dream that you haven't achieved yet because you think that you're not ready. You think that the timing isn't quite right. There's like a million different answers that we can put into this. But take a moment for you to write down one dream that you've not achieved yet because you think you aren't ready. I'm going to give you a minute. I'm going to take a very long, awkward drink of water while I give you that second. Okay. So hopefully everyone has that written down in their phone, on their laptop, or some piece of paper in front of them, because we're going to come back to it later at the end. All right. So now that we're all like relaxed from our box breathing, we're going to come to the RIA method. Now, when I first kind of created this RIA method in terms of recognize, identify, and address was kind of a placeholder. I wanted to name it something much cooler, but I didn't know what it was going to be. So shortly after, I went on a podcast with Allie Ward, a podcast called Ologies. And if you haven't checked her out, she's amazing, all kinds of sciencey stuff. And as I was telling her about the RIA method, she looks me like deadpan in the eye and says, "Oh yeah, like diarrhea. Yeah, that's what I do when I get really stressed. I totally will always remember this now." And I just could never change it ever again. Now it has to be the RIA method because of Allie Ward and her very authentic and blatant share of her experience with stress and fear. So if we take a look at this, if you probably have the PDF hopefully in front of you, you'll see that at the very top, we start to think about fear in a categorizing way. Humans are pigeonholers. We love for things to be in boxes and for them to make sense. If we went into a grocery store and there was cereal on aisle 1, 7, 11, and 18, it would just drive us nuts, right? We need all the cereal to be in one aisle. We need the vegetables and the produce to be in one section. That helps us to understand how to navigate quickly through the world. Our brain likes order, which is hard because the world is chaos. The world doesn't really make sense. But if we can give you something to make sense, then that will help to calm that brain down. So the first thing that I want to talk about is how we categorize our fears, right? We had lots of fears that came up on that Mentimeter. And when we take a look at our fears, we have what I call a fictional bucket and a factual bucket. In the scientific literature, they're more designated as clear, clean, and dirty fear. I feel that there's a lot of baggage around those terms. So I like to use fictional and factual. Plus, I'm a big book nerd, so it just works for me. So factual, just like nonfiction, just like something that's going to be just the facts, ma'am, that is going to be something that you are afraid of, but it's happening in the moment and it's a shared experience for everyone around you. Now, the in the moment is kind of the important part, right? You are walking down a busy street and there's like a big loud pop and everyone looks towards that noise to see if it's something that we should react to. And that's going to be something that is triggering the factual aspects of your fear response. It's in the moment, everyone around you is experiencing the same thing, and your body knows what to do to take care of that. Okay, do we need to address it? Nope. All right, carry on with our day. The really insidious part of our normal fear responses is going to be the fictional aspects of fear. So just like any good story, there's probably some grains of truth in it, but that fictional fear is rooted in the stories that have been told to us, maybe since childhood, in our families, the stories that have been told to us by society, and also the stories that we tell to ourselves. This is where we have the power to change how we're going to deal with those fictional fears. And again, it's not that they ever won't come true. Something like I saw losing my job was a fear on the word cloud that we had. That's a totally real possibility for all of us, right? However, the suffering that we put ourselves through is so much bigger than if and when that event actually happened. So when we start to think about fear in this new way, we can stop and ask ourselves, is this a factual fear that's happening in the moment that people around me are sharing? Or is it something that I can start to peel apart within this story I'm being told or the story that I'm telling myself? So the first thing you need to do is even just recognizing that you're in a fear arousal state. So the word stress has kind of become interchangeable with fear because people actually are afraid of the word fear, which is like, I don't know, the really is like the funniest thing ever. But people hate the word fear. So it is the other F word. So people don't like it. So we like to call things stress, because in stress, we have this kind of like high five badge of courage that we can come to one another and say, oh, I'm so stressed. And then the other person can say, me too, I'm so stressed. And then we feel better, but it's short-lived because we're not really digging into the root causes. We're kind of just putting everything into this big stress bucket and we're like shoving it in the back of the closet and not really doing anything about it. So the first thing you need to do is, what are your specific physical tells of when you are in a fear aroused state? This has to be completely, personal. It could be any one of these things. It could be one, it could be all of them. Everyone's a little bit different. For me, I'm a total like jaw clencher and I'm a like a shoulder scruncher. So those are the two things that I know if I'm like, wow, my jaw hurts. Okay, something is going on. My physical body is telling me that I'm doing something that's stressful or that I'm kicking up the fear arousal, or if I'm scrunching. I'm a big scruncher too. I'll like put my like shoulders around my ears. So if I see it or someone else points it out, then I know to dig a little bit deeper. So that digging a little bit deeper is going to be the identify. Now, many people will, that's why the JPEG is also on that website for you to go ahead, if you'd like to, download the JPEG version and just have it in your phone. I put it in my favorites so that it's easy to kind of like tap into. And this one is going to be instrumental because if we can really name it, then we can master it. By saying stress is this big, nebulous, fluffy thing, it doesn't really change how we're feeling in the moment. Even if we can feel camaraderie with other people who are also stressed and kind of talking about the general ball of stress. By taking a moment and deciding, okay, you recognize that the thing you're feeling is stress or fear. What is the specific name that you can give to the thing that's causing it right now? If you take a look, and of course on the JPEG, you can blow it up to make it much larger. And this is going to allow you to give a name to it. Like, okay, well, right now, I'm feeling dread because I just heard that half the team is leaving, because there was some, leadership kind of things happening. Or maybe, I'm feeling really stressed because I'm feeling really alone. Maybe I'm feeling alone because we literally just lived through a pandemic and it was very isolating for many of us. Or maybe you're feeling really alone because you're the only woman at the executive table with 15 other men, right? All these are going to be different flavors of that fear arousal response. And once we can start to really pinpoint what that is, then we can do more about it. One other way, the great thing about this, you can be doing these things, the box breathing, the RIA method, and no one has to know. So once you've kind of pinpointed that thing, maybe it's overwhelmed. You're like, there's so much going on. I feel really overwhelmed. Then thinking about, okay, so this thing, can I define where that overwhelm is? And can I put it into one of the two big boxes? So when I was talking about the two boxes that we can put most fears into, and yes, there's going to be some overlap, but we look at all of these fictional human fears that hopefully through that word cloud, we felt that they're pretty common. Not that they're not important, but that we share so many of the same ones that if we started to take a look at them, could we put them in one of these two boxes? Could we put them into fear of not enough? Or could we put that thing into fear of losing control? Now, some are just so big and wily, they kind of fit in both, and that's okay. The important part is that you are getting your brain to think about something logical so that you can derail that limbic system response. And even just the act of trying to categorize these emotions can help to bring you back to a space of control and of calm. I want to share a little, some footage for you of a recent time that I was using the RIA method a lot. Let me share screen. So I'm definitely one of those people that is a total like fur mom. I've chosen not to have children, and so I have to put my mothering energy somewhere. This is Bandit. This is my little Bandit. So we were in Austin just a couple weeks ago, and my boyfriend was driving him, Bandit, and an RV across from LA to meet us in Austin. And some things, and it doesn't really matter, we're going to leave the RV in Austin. We need to fly back to LA. I've never flown ever on a plane with a dog, especially, my little Bandit here. And there was no way I was going to let him be put under the cargo. Luckily, he's decently small, but he's not super small. So here's some live footage of that. I didn't know Craig was taking this, but as I'm walking through Austin Airport, the entire time, completely like so freaked out and stressed out about this, having to take my dog on an airplane, I'm doing the RIA method in my head, right? And you can't tell. I'm masked up, I'm walking, I look like I'm determined, but I'm walking obviously far ahead of my boyfriend because I'm so ingrained in trying to go through the RIA method to get myself calm enough to get on the plane. Luckily, everything was fine. Bandit did great on his first little air trip, and all of the fictional fears I was telling myself about all the ways things could go wrong. And what if this happened? And what if that happened? And really, those things never did happen. So allowing myself to lean on these same methods that I teach has really helped me to navigate just the normal everyday kind of stress stuff that we all are going to just come in contact with. And when we are stressed, then everyone around us is stressed. When we are fearful, other people can feel it. And you have mirror neurons to thank for that. Think about when we were able to go to conferences. When you would have go into a conference room and you're doing something like a talk, but maybe it's a small breakout room talk. So you're pretty close to the stage and a speaker gets on and you're really excited to hear what they have to say, right? But they're so nervous. Like you can taste it in the room. Everyone can feel the terror that this person is feeling that's speaking on stage. One of the words that came up in the Mentimeter word cloud was fear of public speaking, right? So I'm sure that all of us had been there at least once, both on the stage being terrified and being in the room with someone that is on stage that is terrified. And mirror neurons are going to be this type of neuron that allows us to understand the world around us. And it's kind of like an authenticity meter, right? Like what are those things that you get like to go look in the beach for? Metal detector, that's what it is. So it's like a metal detector that like beep, 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 looking for authenticity. So why is this important? I know you might have done this in imposter syndrome, the last session, but when we think about that everyone has these mirror neurons and they're constantly working to understand what's going on in the people around us, because this is just an evolutionary adaptation for survival, that means that when other people are afraid, we feel it. When we're afraid, other people feel it. So when we are leading teams, when we are being a contributing coworker and we are pretending that everything's fine. No, it's great. Yeah, no, everything's fine. It's great. Yeah. We all may think that we're doing a good job of covering it up, but we're not. Yeah, we're not. Nope. And so other people, because of their mirror neurons, may not be able to pinpoint why they don't trust you or why something is off. But the more that you don't acknowledge something like your everyday fear around the business, and don't make a safe space for discussing it in a really supported way with frameworks and tools, then it just continues to fester. And once trust is truly lost, it's almost impossible to get back. So when we think about why should I even care about mastering everyday fear, it can help build that trust in your team, and your families and your friendship relationships and your romantic relationships, because everyone feels fear, especially after this like really long year of so much change and so many things that we've had to deal with. And just telling people to suck it up and be fearless doesn't work. It's not even possible for the most part. It's not entirely impossible to be biologically like fearless, but it's pretty darn improbable. And you'd have to have some major trauma to your brain. So that means that by and large, most of us are going to have a completely natural fear response that we're just not talking about. And when we start to talk about it in our teams and our relationships, and we make a place to have those conversations, then that's going to be such an amazing way to build trust really quickly. So other things that I want to kind of talk about, let me check on our time. Oh yeah, we're doing good. So one of the things I like to bring in kind of unusual ways to get around these things. So if we want to get to an innovative space, we want to create solutions that are going to be new and totally revolutionary or make changes, before we can get to that space, we need to deal with our everyday fear, because a fearful brain doesn't work to create solutions. It can't. That's not the job of the brain when it's in that fear state. And as we think about how we are going to craft the future of our like ecosystem workspaces, if you care at all about populating your talent pipeline with Gen Z or really young millennials, then having a robust ecosystem of culture that is about emotional intelligence and about redesigning what it means to work, then you are going to be so far ahead of the curve, and your organization is going to be the one that's going to really attract Gen Z and younger millennials. Because what they care about is authentic experiences, authentic communication, and those mirror neurons are going to pick that up if you're not being authentic as you can. So one of the ways that I kind of start to do this with organizations, I'm going to share screen. So design thinking is something that came out of the Stanford D School and is many times applied to more kind of tech and product creation, but I use design thinking to apply to larger problems within culture and organization. And how do we get from a space of not talking about fear and emotional intelligence to a space where it's the norm? So one of the other things that I do, we don't quite have enough time to go super deep dive today on this, but Lego series play, one of the fun things that I do, which is actually part of tapping into those creative centers in our brain to get to those solutions. So this is all open source stuff. So if you want to find out more, just Google Lego series play. That, you know, as Lego, the company, has made all of their stuff open source, so you can check it out for yourself. And briefly, I want to talk about how, you know, design thinking is this process of thinking about, okay, so we have a problem, whatever that problem is. How can we start with empathy? How can we empathize with that group? Then how can we define that problem? How can we ideate solutions and then rapid prototype possible futures for that, which is a really great space for the Lego series play, and then start testing them out. So if you are new to design thinking, I would totally recommend checking that out. I probably should have had this book out. Do I have it in my, so there's a couple of really good ones around design thinking and really applying it to your organization. So I don't have one of the other books here, but I can, if you are at all interested, you can definitely let me know and I can send you the link to that. All right, so as we start to get towards our closeout time today, I want to talk a little bit about a trick that is kind of fun and really is about coming back to that brain science. So the premise is that when we are generous, we are less fearful. Meaning that when we give to others, when we are pulled out of our own narrative and focused on the welfare of others, our amygdala, which are two almond-shaped portions of our brain that are going to be the centers of fear arousal, they're going to be able to be calmed down when we are being generous. So when we show kindness, we are actually activating that vagus nerve, which is going to be the largest nerve. It's going to run from our cranium all the way down, allowing ourselves to become calm. When we think about leading teams in our organizations, or even just in our professional and personal lives, what are some ways that we can benefit by becoming less fearful, by also becoming more generous to others? So in that kind of vein, I would love to be generous to everyone that is on this call today. And the same link that I sent you before, the Today with Mary /WIM, if you go down to the bottom, there is if you like totally are jamming on this fear stuff and you want to know more about the fear science, especially, I did a 13, and it's specifically 13 because 13 is the number that the most people are afraid of, right? And then the top animal, I'm sure everyone guessed spider, right? Or maybe shark was like another good top one. But spider and the number 13 are two top ones when people are polled about what animal or what number that they're afraid of. So there's 13 videos where I talk about some of this stuff more in depth, if that's something of interest in you. So that is going to be my act of generosity to really honor the time that you were able to spend with me today. So before we wrap, I want to thank everyone at all of the CFA global chapters and for the collaborative WIM for having me today. And I invite you, so the show's not over, I invite you to join Victoria in our second breakout today. So I'm going to pass it on to Victoria.
Thank you so much, Mary, for this wonderful session today. And I think as a group of high achievers here, it's not surprising that fear was one of our top, failure was one of our top fears today. But luckily, today we learned some great ways not only to identify, but also to address our fear and grow personally and professionally with that experience. My name is Victoria Prescott, CFA. I'm an Associate Director of Capital Markets and Investor Relations at Realty Income. I'm also an Advocacy Chair on the board of the CFA Society San Diego and a collaborative WIM steering committee member. Before we let you go back to the breakout rooms and connect with your friends and colleagues, once again, we'd like to run a short poll. We are always looking for ways to improve our programming going forward. So if you could please take the next few minutes to just answer this few questions that you're currently seeing on your screen. And of course, if you'd like to share your feedback and ideas with the steering committee, please reach us at collaborativewim@gmail.com, or you can reach out directly to any one of us, Sarah, Ariel, Christine, Regina, or I. We're just gonna give a few more seconds for everyone to answer the questions. Thank you everyone for participating in the poll, and your feedback is very important to us. And now it's time for our second breakout session. Please use this opportunity to introduce yourself, meet new friends, exchange ideas, and grow your global network. And as you're going around the room, I invite you to share that one dream that you wrote down earlier that your heart desires, but you haven't achieved it yet because you don't feel ready. We will see you all back in 10 minutes.
Welcome back, everyone. A big thank you to our incredibly talented friend, Mary. Thank you to our hosts at CFA Society Los Angeles. Thanks to our sponsors and to everyone for participating in today's event. I'm Christine Tinker, CFA and Equity Portfolio Manager at Northern Trust Asset Management. On behalf of the Collaborative WIM Steering Committee, I hope today's program and networking sessions were of value to you. We encourage everyone to stay engaged as we build this partnership. In my third year as co-chair of CFA Society's Chicago Women's Network, I am proud and incredibly excited about this initiative and the efforts underway to collectively inspire a more inclusive culture in the finance community and in the world. As a global network of accomplished and diverse women, we have a unique opportunity to shape the path forward for our industry by reaching women of all backgrounds and supporting them in their financial and career journeys. By investing in ourselves and investing in each other, together we can enhance and amplify the inclusion and diversity efforts of our respective societies locally, while sharing resources and information to build a truly global community around this important dialogue. Our success depends on your participation and support. To get involved, please follow Collaborative WIM on LinkedIn, visit our website, and share developments with your society leaders and members. Your input will go a long way in shaping the path forward, so we welcome your ideas and feedback at collaborativewim@gmail.com. Our third quarter original WIM event will be hosted by CFA Society Oklahoma on September 9th, and we look forward to a dynamic discussion with Marilyn Wetcher on the topic of women, money, and power. We are also excited to soon launch the WIM Quarterly Book Club ahead of an interactive event on August 5th with Vikram Mencharami, podcaster and author of Thinking for Yourself, Restoring Common Sense in an Age of Experts in Artificial Intelligence. CFA Society Orange County will host the event for US time zones, and CFA Society Ukraine will host for European time zones. So save the date, you won't want to miss it. Stay tuned, stay in touch, and thank you again.